Yeah, hi there. These comments are for MA, and this is Michael, the founder, owner, and the materials writer for the 7-step system to pass the TOEFL IBT. And you're also one of my students at California State University, San Bernardino. And what I want to do right now is to go over your independent practice test that you submitted, and also I want to give you a score so you can have an idea of how you're doing, and even I will give you some lessons from my online course that you can focus on and review so you can strengthen your writing proficiency. And thank you for doing the writing assignment. Alright, let's take a look at your essay now. So, let's take a look at your organization, let's look at your development, and then let's look at your grammar, your word choice, your sentence structure. Okay, in the beginning, let's take a look at your thesis. You say in the beginning, your first paragraph is one sentence. Everyone in this life must face his or her own difficulties and problems with full courage that he or she will actchive. You want to say achieve his or her goals and objectives. Okay, you have no thesis, unfortunately. So the first thing you want to do, MA, is make sure that you have a thesis that kind of sets up what's going to happen in the essay. Okay, let's take a look at your next paragraph. Your second paragraph is also only one sentence. So I think you need to combine those first two paragraphs into one, and you need a thesis. Okay, let's take a look at your third paragraph. You say a good roommate should be a mentor. Okay, so you have a topic sentence there that states one of the important qualities of a roommate. You say a good roommate must be careful and caution. And then you have another feature of a good roommate is to be smart. Okay, so far in terms of organization, you need a better organization. You need a lot better introduction. Your introduction needs to be closer to, I'm going to say, about 100 words. Your introduction, let me count it, the words. Your introduction, if you count the two separate paragraphs, is not even 50 words. So there's not enough substance to the beginning of the speech, to the beginning of the response. Okay, now let's take a look at your development. Okay, in your third paragraph you say, a good roommate should be a mentor. You say, sometimes a new student cannot decide alone what to do in a certain situation and how to do things. A good roommate will help decide which decision is more appropriate. Now you need an example. Say, for example, if I begin my first year of my graduate program, I might not know exactly what classes I need to take. So maybe my roommate can give me some suggestions as to which classes I need to choose and why. So you need a specific example to help support what you already have in that paragraph, so your paragraph is not very developed. Okay, let's go to your next paragraph. You say a good roommate must be careful and cautious. You say, for an example from my own experience, my roommate hates the air condition because he has a concern that maybe he will be ill if it is too cold. Actually, before 2 weeks, I got sick, and he helped me to handle my sickness by preparing a good meal and a nice, tasty soup. Now, you have an example, but it isn't clear how that relates to being careful or cautious. So your example really doesn't connect back to the topic that you're trying to present there. Now, let me show you what I might do that might help. You might say a good roommate must be careful and cautious. For example, if I am ill or have a cold, my roommate should be careful not to turn the air conditioning on too cold because it might make me really sick. In addition, maybe my roommate will also be careful not to turn the music up too loud when I'm trying to study. So both of these reasons I think are important in a roommate. You see what I just did? So the examples I'm using, I'm trying to go back to what you said in the beginning, careful and then cautious, and the examples that you choose, they need to illustrate that point. What you've done right now does not do that. Okay, let's take a look at your next paragraph. You say another feature of a good roommate is to be smart. You say thus when we talk, he or she will improve my overall knowledge. As you know, knowledge is power. For example, my roommate is working at Loma Linda. He can teach me how to handle a lot of critical health situations like stroke or heart attack. So maybe instead of being smart, you might say knowledgeable. You might say another feature of a good roommate is to be knowledgeable. And then you get to the example that you did. That probably will relate even better to the topic sentence that you're trying to argue there. So then in what you say at the very end, you say, in conclusion, a good roommate can bring pleasant in student life. Living most of the time together helps student face problems with the ability to be more organized and gives a student great management skills, which everyone get the meaning of what to have a great friendly roommate. Now in the conclusion, MA, you have to go back and look at what you've done in the actual essay. You talk about being a mentor. You talk about being careful and cautious. You talk about being knowledgeable or smart. In the conclusion, you want to restate those key points. You did not do that. And that also hurts the organization of your essay. So your organization is kind of falling apart on two levels. The first level, there's no thesis in your first paragraph that lets the reader know what you want to do. So there's no way really to connect your topic sentences in those body paragraphs back to a thesis because there's no thesis. The conclusion does not restate the key points that you said in your body paragraphs. So then your essay kind of has a loose organization. Now, in addition to talking about the organization and your development, I now want to take some time to talk about your grammar. Okay, let's take a look at paragraph 3. You say in your second sentence, because sometimes a new student cannot decide alone what do in a certain situation and what to do and how to do things in a proper way. So this is very repetitive. You say what do, you say what to do, you say how to do. You're saying all of these things in the same sentence. Also, this is a fragment. This sentence does not have a subject and a verb, a main subject and a main verb. So what you need to do is take this idea and combine it to the previous sentence. Now here's the corrections I would make. And you might want to look at your essay as I'm reading right now so you can see these corrections. I would say a good roommate should be a mentor because sometimes a new student cannot decide alone what to do in a certain situation. Period. Then you say a good roommate will help to decide which decision is more appropriate. And maybe you could just have a period there and not even say in a certain situation. Okay, let's go to your next paragraph. Your next paragraph, you have what's called a comma splice. You're putting two independent clauses together with a comma. So I would put a period after the word caution, but I would say a good roommate must be careful and cautious. Use the adjective form, not caution. Caution is a noun. Careful is an adjective. You don't want to mix an adjective with a noun, with the word and. Again, a good roommate must be careful and cautious, period. Then say, for example, you don't even have to say from my own experience because when you say my roommate, that means your experience. So say, for example, my roommate hates the air condition. How about the air conditioner? Because he has a concern that maybe he will become ill if it is too cold. You need another period, and instead of saying before 2 weeks, you want to say actually 2 weeks ago. A native speaker does not say before 2 weeks. A native speaker says 2 weeks ago, comma, I got sick. Can you help me to handle, and so on. So that would be some corrections I would make in that paragraph. In the next paragraph, you have many what's called run-on sentences and comma splices. Right now, you're not sure when one sentence ends and a new sentence begins. You have to have control of your sentence structure if you want to score high on the TOEFL. So you say in the second sentence, thus. I'm going to make some corrections as we go. Thus, when we talk, he or she will improve my overall knowledge. Then you put a period. You say, as you know, comma, knowledge is power. Again, period. Then say, for example, comma, my roommate is working at Loma Linda Hospital. Instead of saying the comma, actually put the comma and say, where he teaches me how to handle a lot of critical health situations like strokes with an S or heart attacks. Okay, then the final paragraph, I'll make a correction in this one. You say, in conclusion, a good roommate can bring, I would use the word noun, pleasantries in student life. Period. You need to end that sentence. Then you begin the next sentence, living most of the time together helps students face problems with the ability to be more organized and gives the student great management skills. Period. Then you might say, I wish everyone gets the meaning of what it is to have a great friendly roommate, right? So those would be some of my corrections that I would make based on what you wrote. Now the next question is what would you score in this particular essay and why? Okay, so let's take a look at the rubrics. I'm going to click on them right now. And you have these in your syllabus, by the way, so you can look at what I'm looking at right now. If you have my e-syllabus, you can go to where it talks about how your writing is scored, and you can click on that. So 5, you're not going to score in the 5 range. The 4 range, nope. The 3 range, still no. Let's go into the 2 range. Okay, I'm going to say, I don't even think you're going to score in the 2 range on this one, unfortunately. Okay, I think I figured out your score. I'm going to give you 1.75 out of 5, 12 points out of 30. So I think what described your essay, you have limited development in response to the task and of the writing assignment. So you simply do not have enough details in those body paragraphs to support what you're trying to say. Your essay has an inadequate organization or connection of ideas. Like I said, you have no thesis in your introduction. Your conclusion does not restate the key points of your body paragraphs. And even some of the examples you're using in those body paragraphs don't really illustrate the topic that you're trying to argue there. So the next thing is inappropriate or insufficient explanations, examples, or details to support generalizations. I already talked about that. Yes. Serious and frequent errors in sentence structure and usage. A big yes. So your biggest problem right now is you don't know how to structure a sentence. You're not sure what type of punctuation to use after you have created a sentence. That's really one of your biggest issues right now. So what do? Here's what I recommend. You do have weaknesses in several different areas. First of all, vocabulary. You're very lacking you're using very basic, non-academic vocabulary, and that's going to really, really cause you a lot of problems with your graduate writing. So my recommendation is you need to complete vocabulary lesson 3, vocabulary lesson 4, go through all the quizzes, vocabulary lesson 5, complete that lesson, go through all the quizzes, vocabulary lesson 6, and go through all those quizzes. Now, in addition to the vocabulary MA, I think you should also work in my grammar part of my course. Lesson 1, sentence variety. Lesson 2, being more concise. Lesson 3, when to use commas. Yes, yes, and yes. You're overusing commas. You're using them when you should be using periods. This is a very big problem for you. So yes, lesson number 3. Lesson 4, semicolon, colon, dash, period, question mark, exclamation point. Yes, in some cases you could be using semicolons where you're using your commas, so I think this lesson would be beneficial to you. And most importantly is grammar lesson number 7. This is very, very important for you. So when you click on the link, it's going to take you to the website. It's called A Writer's Reference by Diana Hacker. You want to complete all writing and all grammar exercises, all of that. This is very, very important for you because you have so many language problems that you need to solve, and you want to make sure on a regular basis you're working on solving these problems, or your writing stays the same. Is that what you want? I don't think so, right? So these two areas are going to really help you make a lot of progress. All right, let's go back to the course. Let's go to the writing section. I do have some specific suggestions of some things that you can do in the writing part of my course. I would recommend lesson 2, writing lesson 2, writing lesson 3, writing lesson 4, writing lesson number 5, writing 5.1, writing 5.2, writing 5.3, and writing lesson number 6. These are all important. Make sure you review, go through these lessons. I would even practice copying some of the sample thesis statements that you see in the video so you can get more used to creating thesis statements. I'd also recommend take a look at writing lesson number 7. These are some sample essays for the independent writing task, so you can have an idea of how you should answer this kind of question. In addition to that, lesson number 8 is also very important for you. How to make your writing more coherent. Keep in mind, your writing is not coherent in any way. There's no strong connection of ideas in your writing. So this is a very, very important lesson for you. Alrighty? Now, you now know what your score is and why. You know what specific lessons that you can focus on at my online TOEFL course to get better. Now the next question is, will you practice? Are you willing to do the work that you need to make the progress that you seek? I promise you, if you go through these lessons and complete these exercises, you will be able to make progress. But you might be thinking, Michael, this is a lot of information. This is a lot of lessons you want me to focus on. It is, because you have a lot of problems. If you had fewer problems, I would recommend fewer lessons, but that's not the case, unfortunately. Now remember this, MA. A Chinese philosopher once said, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with the first step. And today is your chance to take that first step. Anyway, thank you very much for completing the independent writing practice test. Hang in there. You may be frustrated. Your score might not be as high as you'd like it to be, but you can change. You can become better through practice. All right? And I look forward to listening to your next, or reading your next independent writing practice test next week. And keep up the good work.